This series of videos will teach you how to build a bicycle wheel. This first video just gives an overview of the building process. The starter file and the sample file you have been provided are for building a 32-spoke wheel, but you will be able to change the number of spokes in your own wheel as desired. The wheel consists of a rim, spokes, a hub with flanges that the spokes are anchored into, and finally an axle that passes through the hub. One half of the spokes enter the flanges from the outside of the flange. The other half of the spokes enter the hub from the inside. Spokes from the left-hand flange interleave at the rim with spokes on the right-hand flange. I will now roll back the feature tree to the beginning so you can see what the process is that's used to build this wheel. The first two features are simply for building one half of the hub and the flange. This is just a simple revolve feature based on sketches provided to you in the layouts in the starter file. The second feature is going to be one of the spokes that will pass through the inside of the hub flange and go all the way out to the location of the rim. Added to this spoke will be a button at the end which will anchor it into the flange, and at the other end will be a spoke nut which tensions the spoke to the rim. Once this spoke has been completed, a second spoke will be built. That crosses over the first spoke. This spoke enters the flange from the outside. Otherwise, it's all the same as the first spoke. It includes a button located on the inside of the flange and a spoke nut at the rim, just like the first spoke has. These two spokes are then patterned to create one half of the entire wheel. So here we see one half of the wheel, which consists of 16 spokes, and one half of the hub. It's now time to build the other half of the wheel, which will just be a simple mirror command. But we see we have a little problem because what happens is the spokes on the right side of the wheel and the left side of the wheel are all meeting at the same point, and as I mentioned before, the spokes have to interleave each other. This is where we are going to use a new command called the insert feature move/copy command, and we can use that to rotate the body that we just mirrored. And by doing so, the spokes from the right side will interleave with the spokes on the left side. So if we look at a side view of the wheel, you see that the spokes tend to cluster in groups. Each group has 4 spokes in it for a total of 8 groups or 32 spokes. For this reason, your wheel should always have a multiple of 4 spokes. I recommend no fewer than 16 spokes for your front wheel and no more than 36 or perhaps 40 spokes for your rear wheel. The next step is going to be to add the rim, and this is nothing more than a simple revolve. If we look at the cross-section sketch for the rim, this portion will be based on a layout sketch that you'll be provided. In this portion, you can customize yourself to create either a traditional shaped rim or more of an arrow style rim. The rest of the wheel is fairly simple and pretty much just involves adding fillets where necessary to smooth out the various edges of the hub, and also to add the axle that passes through the center of the hub. So this is actually the completed front wheel, but this file will actually have 2 configuration states, one for the front wheel and one for the rear wheel. I'm going to toggle between the 2 different configuration states so you can see the differences in the hubs between the 2. So here's what the rear hub looks like I'll toggle back to the front hub. Let me zoom in a little bit. There's the front hub, there's the rear hub. You notice that most of the features are the same. The flanges are in the same spot, they're the same diameter. But the big difference is that the axle length is different and the hub length is different. In addition to that, there's a feature on the rear wheel that the front wheel does not have, which is this step shape, which is for adding a locking ring for a gear. And these teeth here, which are known as splines, which will engage the gear added to the rear hub so that the gear can drive the wheel when is being pedaled. If we go back to the feature tree, we see that some features are suppressed in one configuration state and others are suppressed in the other configuration state. So that's it for the overview. In the next video, we'll learn how to build the spokes.